Have you ever been so impacted by something that it leaves no doubt as to what helped shape you? Welcome to The Blind Impact, a podcast where we talk about and uncover those moments. Some funny, some sad, but it's not always tragic. I hope you'll stay for a while. Okay, Miss Linda, are you on?
I am.
Okay. So, how are you doing today so far?
Um, Aside from having to clean that crap off my shoe, great.
Oh man, yeah, I know that was definitely an ordeal for you. Uh, and I guess that would probably really land for people like you say earlier, like who know about cat crap, like the difference
Yeah,
in that
yeah. I do.
and dog. So a whole difference. Okay, Miss Linda. So is there anything that you want to share with the audience about you? Some accomplishments you've had in life, some of your hobbies, stuff you like to do.
Oh, hobbies.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my hobbies would be, at the moment anyway, or I guess taking care of stray cats. It
Okay.
seems to be what I spend the majority of my time doing is trying to take care of this feral cat colony that I have in the backyard, not
Uh
by choice,
huh.
but
Yeah.
um, that's I would much rather be looking for fossils.
Oh,
That's
really?
oh, I love looking for fossils. There's
Oh.
actually a place, Ladonia, up in it's about a hour and 45-minute drive from here up north past McKinney,
Okay.
where you can go and look for fossils in this riverbed, but I haven't got to do that yet. But yeah, I have a bunch of fossils. I love
Wow.
doing that.
So how'd you get into looking to what made you have a desire to look for fossils?
Well, I worked for an oil and gas company, and so
Oh, okay.
uh, back in 2007, when natural gas and urban drilling was um, really getting kicked off in the
Mhm.
Dallas Fort Worth area, there was a particular drill site that we had.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, I mean, all the fossils, it was just, it was, the place was covered with, fossils from millions of years ago. And
Wow.
um, I guess that's really what got me interested, kind of doing research. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just neat to hold something in your hand that was living 65 million years ago.
Jeez. Yeah, I couldn't imagine that. And I can't imagine what the planet was like that long ago. I mean, that's got a thrill, I think, in its own right. And then you find something and then I wonder like if any of that stuff is ever worth money. Like do people actually sell like those fossils? Oh, so do you want to is there anything else you want to add about your fossil life?
No, that's probably would be my biggest hobby.
Okay, so you got hobbies of looking for fossils and hobbies for cats.
Yeah,
so
taking
a
care of feral cats, or for that matter, I just I love animals and hate to see any kind of suffering or mistreatment.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
And
that's
that's
about
hard to
it.
see. Okay. All right. So, Miss Linda, what's your blind impact? What story do you want to talk about today?
Um, Probably, um, I told you that I was adopted when I was
Mhm.
3 days old.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, and um, found out. I guess I was in the 4th grade working on a autobiography. We had a project where we had to do an autobiography on ourselves, and I had was sitting at the kitchen table and doing it and putting pictures on my paper, and I asked my mom who I looked like because I didn't look like her and I didn't look like my dad, and whose eyes do I have, and my hair color was lighter, and anyway, she told me at that point that I was had been adopted when I
Mhm.
was 3 days old. They took me home from the hospital, and I remember um, I really it didn't bother me in the least. I wasn't shocked, or I just remember sitting there going, okay. Of course, I asked about my birth mom and what the situation was. She didn't really know the situation, just and I that was it. Now, of course, growing up, I always wondered, you know, who I look like because it's
Mhm.
kind of strange not having somebody that you can look at and know that you're physically a part of.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so that I mean, I can't say that it really bothered me, but it was definitely um, a curiosity, something that I would like to have to know. I
Sure.
could look at another person, and so when I had my first daughter, um, you know, it's it's just a different feeling to look at someone and know that you're a part of them. So
Yeah.
I had someone, then, and I guess before the internet, it was really kind of hard to do any kind of research. My mother told me what her name was,
Okay.
and that she was from the South.
Mhm.
Um, she wasn't really sure what state, or if she was, she didn't really disclose it. And I didn't ask my mom or dad, either one, very many questions because I didn't want to hurt their feelings or think that I was
Oh.
unhappy at all, because my mother was a diabetic. The reason why they adopted me is she was a diabetic,
Okay.
had been a diabetic all her life. And
Ooh.
back then, in the early 60s, they had tried the Edna Gladney home and different uh, agencies, but they wouldn't allow her to adopt a child because of her
Mm.
diabetes
Okay.
and everything. And so she was a lab technologist and hematologist for the hospital there in Irving,
Okay.
Texas. And all the doctors knew her, and she was very well liked. My mother was just a saint. But
Very cool.
one of the doctors had a patient who um, was going to have a baby soon and was wanting to put it up for adoption,
Mhm.
and knew my mom's story. And that's, I think back then, I think they were called gray area adoptions. I don't think that you could do that anymore. But they got an attorney and, uh, you know, worked out the arrangements.
Mhm.
And so when they took me home from the hospital, from there, their names are on my birth certificate
Okay.
and everything. But when I guess I was in my early 20s, right after I had had my daughter,
Mhm.
I asked my mother if she knew her name. which she did. She told me her name, so at least I had a name. And my family had always told me that I had a thick Georgian accent when I started to talk.
Oh.
And so I kind of figured she must be from Georgia. So
Okay.
I don't want to use her name because
You
she
don't
is,
have to. You don't
yeah,
have to.
she's still
Yeah.
living,
Okay.
and her family, Anyway, um, I guess in 2012, maybe somebody had told me about the site 23andMe.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it might have been before 2012, but anyway, I did that, submitted my saliva, and immediately I think I had like 1,500 relatives. Of course, they were all third to fifth
What?
cousins,
Oh my
sixth cousin.
goodness.
They were way, yeah.
Removed.
Uh,
Wow.
and it is really funny because really we're all connected,
Yeah.
uh, in some shape or form.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I had a start, and it was in August of 2021 that I was able. Anyway, I had a second cousin,
Okay.
and second cousin's pretty darn close.
Mhm.
And this second cousin was a daughter of my mother's first cousin. And so,
Okay.
anyway, making connection and everything, I was able to um, locate her, and I contacted her. Um, and I'll just never forget it as long as as long as I live.
Yeah.
Um, I really didn't know how to put it, but I had called and said like what my name was, and that I had been working on my family tree, and that I was adopted, and I had made a connection with someone, and I believe that we are related.
Mhm.
And she was very nice, and said, "Well, how do you think we're related?" And I was afraid of what reaction I would get, but I said, "I believe you're my mother."
Oh.
And she just sat there for a brief moment, and I told her, I was born on a Wednesday, January 16th, 1963, um, and at this hospital, and blah blah blah. And she said, "Well, yes, I am your mother." And
Oh.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. You just it, and she's so
Oh.
nice. She's just so nice. She's a Christian woman,
Oh.
and you know, um, the the circumstances that are were surrounding at that time. She had younger sisters, and
Okay.
they were a Baptist family in a small town, and her and her boyfriend wanted to get married,
Okay.
and of course that wasn't her dad was not going to allow that to happen. He
Oh.
was not a fan of this young man, and
Okay.
didn't care too much for his dad, and he just wanted more for his daughter.
Sure.
And so he um, sent her here to Texas to live with his older sister. So her aunt, she came here to live with her aunt
Okay.
during that time. And None of her family knew. I think
Oh,
other than her mother, and
gee.
none of her none of her siblings. Nobody knew.
Okay.
And to this day, even she left to go help her uncle who had a ministry. And it's so funny that I have known that God has had His hand on on me
Mm, 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 mm.
my entire life. I don't know how to explain it other
Yeah.
than um, events and things that have happened. Um, before I even knew her or whatever, I knew that I had someone that was praying um,
Oh my
for me.
goodness.
And this is before I even was looking for her. I
Okay.
just I knew that. Of course, I know my mother was always praying for me because as a teenager, I was a little hellion. Uh, I can think of so many times, I could have been dead, but,
Yeah.
by the grace of God,
Yes.
you know,
Yes, ma'am.
driving around intoxicated. And I mean, I
Mm.
can remember several times that it seemed like just a miracle. But anyway, I just always knew God had his hand on me.
Yes.
And then when I found out that she was a Christian woman and had come from a Christian family, I just knew then that she must have prayed for me my entire life. And, she was so thankful I called, and I told her the main reason I called was to tell her thank you for coming to that decision to place me for adoption rather than to have an abortion, even
Uh,
though I don't think they were legal. Uh, I mean, it still could have been taken care of.
mhm.
But the fact that she went through 9 months of carrying me, and she told me that she never even got to see me. I mean, when I was born,
Oh,
um,
no.
yeah, oh, she never touched me. She never saw me. They just
Oh,
took me out and of the room, and she had to sign papers, and
okay.
that was it. But she had come here uh, to work for her uncle's ministry and everything. Um,
Mhm.
but then she went back and got her college degree, and met the man that she would then marry and have a great life with. And
Mm,
I think 10 years after I was born, she had her son. Um,
okay.
so she had other children and had a great life, and that's great. It worked out great. But
Right.
she said that she did always pray for me and always thought of me on my birthday and wondered if I had good parents, if I was being brought up right,
Wow.
that. So
Wow. So can I ask, do you think that the reason the hospital or the nurses took you from her without letting her carry you, was that to try to prevent any sort of bonding, I guess? Or
yes,
maybe like okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they yeah. I mean, it would be much harder to let go of,
Yeah.
once you see and make that connection. And but I've always wanted to tell her thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
just thank you for being a strong enough person and a caring enough person to give me life. And
Mhm.
I've had a great life. I mean, I was an only child, and I was able to. I mean, my mother passed away from complications of her diabetes when I was 27.
Okay.
And, like I said, I was such a, I guess all teenagers go through it, but, um,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the 70s. And, my mother would have never would have smoked weed. My mother was a straight A student and just
Mm.
one of those good kids. And then I come
Yeah.
along and she's probably wondering, oh my goodness. But, you know, um, so it was a blessing for her to be a mother because she'd always
Mhm.
wanted to be a mother. And
Yeah.
I just wish so many of these girls that use um, abortion as birth control, I really
Mhm.
wish um, there were more women that were strong enough to be able to give their children up for adoption because there are so many people that just want to. And I'm
Yes.
sorry for getting emotional.
Oh, you're fine. You're okay. I really want to give you a hug right now, Miss Linda.
Well,
Oh man.
and that's they just want to be parents, and
Mhm.
you know there's more of a, I guess, a demand and less supply of
Yeah.
children, and it's just heartbreaking. And I we have well, not, it's been several years, but um, I have a daughter who had a situation, and anyway,
Mhm.
we um, became foster parents of my grandchildren. So we're currently raising my two grandsons.
That's awesome.
Um, but during that process, and oh, it is a process
Wow.
that you have to go through, and the standards that they, um, I guess, put on you is
Mhm.
so much more than what a normal, family is. Like if you have a prescription drug, uh, like a painkiller, it has to be in a lock box, and the lock box has to be locked in another um, lock box. I mean, you had to keep all your medicines in. We had to buy this, big. It's like a toolbox, I guess,
Oh,
and keep your drugs, all your drugs in that under key.
okay.
Um,
Goodness.
oh, the the boys originally were sharing a king size bed.
Uh-huh.
We had to They had to stop sharing the bed. Now at this point, we're talking about, oh, a 5 and 7 year old boy. I mean,
Okay.
you know what, 5 and 7 year old? I mean, they shared a king size bed, but anyway, that you can't do that. They have to have their own bed. Um, I mean, like I said, you have to go through more than what a normal family, you know, would
Jeez.
would do. Yeah.
That's a
So these
lot. I mean,
people, these people that want to adopt, they really do want to parent because it's not easy to
okay.
qualify for starters. It's not easy to qualify just to be a foster parent.
Wow.
And they have to come to your home and do these spot visits where they just show up and get to go through your house. And if it's, yeah, my house was too cluttered. I had to get rid of some things, um, which was really kind of silly because being an only child, when my grandmother passed and then my mother, I have family things. I'm just was not ready to give up.
And you
And
shouldn't have to though. You
I
shouldn't
know,
have to do that. Uh-uh.
but so yeah, I'll admit my house had more stuff in it than a lot of people's, but I mean, it was clean. It was
Mhm.
not uh, like a hoarder's house or anything.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just, you know, uh, it's I know it wouldn't be easy to have an abortion either, but I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to give up baby that you've carried. But if it's in the best interest of the child,
Mhm.
I just wish more um,
Yeah.
people would do that.
Yeah. I do too. And do you feel like having fostered your grandkids, do you feel like you were more driven to do that because of your backstory?
No, not at all. I did it because they're my grandkids, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they're. I mean, they're my family. I'm not gonna let
Yeah.
my grandkids go into foster care. But you
Yeah.
know what? One thing I will say, I was so surprised. The judges and the people in the system were,
Uh-huh.
thank you so much for doing this, and blah blah blah. And I was like, why are you thanking me? I mean, uh,
Yeah.
that's
I guess
just
that's
the
kind of
normal
insulting.
thing. That's what the normal thing to do. And they said, no, no, you don't understand. Most grandparents, they don't want to have to raise kids again. They feel like they've raised their kids, and you know
Ugh.
the situation that they put their children in is, that's on them. And
Oh
they just,
wow.
yes, I was so
Wow.
surprised. I was shocked. And I
Yeah.
said, you mean to tell me most, you know, grandparents don't? She said, no. I mean, they might help try and find another family member, but as far as taking on the job of parenting again, because I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
is definitely a battle.
I mean, kids nowadays are just different, and I'm sure every generation of parents and grandparents say the same thing. I know my grandmother probably said the same thing about me when I wanted to stop wearing dresses and I wanted to wear the red snap hip huggers.
Uh-oh.
For those for those in your audience that grew up in the 70s, I'm sure the girls and some guys know what I'm talking about. The red snap hip huggers. They had to be
So
red snap.
okay, well, why don't you give it for those in the audience that don't know what that is? What can you give us like an illustration, kind of paint a picture?
Um, well, the red snaps were these brand of hip huggers that you got at the Army Navy store. That was
Okay.
a lot of kids. Well, I mean, that's where we got a lot of our clothing was at the Army Navy store. But the red snap hip huggers, and they came in all kinds of gorgeous colors. Yeah, you know, the maroons, the neon greens. They were.
Oh.
I mean, I look back now and I think I, I couldn't even stand it to think.
Oh, really?
I mean, there were 3 snaps to these hip huggers.
Okay.
That's how long, I mean, or short, they were definitely hip huggers, but they had 3 snaps, but, um, the brand was Red Snap, and yeah.
So like that was a pretty big pretty hot commodity, especially if you opted to stop wearing dresses to get into these hip
Well,
huggers.
I wore my grandmother and I wore handmade clothes until the 6th
Ooh.
grade. I mean, gorgeous. My
Wow.
mother and grandmother both could sew like you wouldn't believe. So clothes that, styles that were like from Nemus, or back then it was Sanger Harris.
Uh-huh.
I always wanted to shop at Sanger Harris, but my mother was more on a Kmart. I mean,
Uh-huh.
being raised in the Depression, I mean, my parents were older parents. So
Uh-huh.
my mother was 33 when I was
Okay.
born.
Okay.
So, she was an older parent,
Sure.
because most of my friends' parents growing up were in their 20s when
Mhm.
they had them. So, anyway, yeah, I had beautiful handmade clothes,
Man,
and then I opted to go for the
the
hip
three snaps.
huggers and track shoes.
Oh.
Had to wear track shoes. Um,
Wow.
but anyway,
You know something that I really appreciate about what you just said about your grandmother and your mom being like seamstresses, and is something I would love to see come back. I mean, just the quality of clothes you got to make. You could create your own style,
yeah,
from home.
um, yeah, they wanted me to take an interest in sewing. I mean, I still have my Singer Junior
Machine.
sewing machine. Yeah, it's still
Oh
in the
wow.
box. I mean, uh,
Oh.
it was a kid sewing machine, so I would make Barbie clothes
Yeah. Yep.
and stuff like that. And then when I got grown, I have a Singer sewing machine.
Mhm.
I made some crafts, different craft things to hang on the wall.
Okay.
But as far as getting a pattern and cutting it out and making clothes, I just wasn't interested. I just never I just never was interested in that, and it's a shame. You save a lot of money.
You do. You really do. You really do. But I think from what you're saying, it sounds like maybe you at least know how to do that if you needed or if you wanted to. I guess.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I I'm looking at my sewing machine in the back. I'm in the garage right now,
okay.
and it's here in the garage in its case.
Wow.
Maybe one of these
Okay.
days.
Yeah. Yep. It's never ever too late to restart something.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I'd be curious to see what you come up with.
it would be some bohemian looking style. I, yeah. I,
Wow.
I'm a child of the '70s.
And that's so cool. I really feel like if born, I feel like I should have been either born in the 60s or 70s. Like I feel like that's my inner like time period and I can't explain it. But when I'm listening to you talk about your experiences and I'm like, man, like the jeans and like the track shoes and just
Mhm.
what it was what it would have been like just to live back then just
Oh, well, you
seems
could.
so awesome.
I think now about we would stay. I mean, the street that I lived on
Mhm.
was 3 doors up. Were the Dinkler boys. They were three boys that were all around our age. My next door neighbor, they had 5 kids. My best my best friend. I guess we were 4 years old, maybe when we first met.
Mhm.
They moved next door to us, and um, I don't want to use their names because, like I said, they're
That's
still living. But
yeah, that's
there
just
were
fine.
3 girls and 2 boys, and one of um, the girls I'm still friends with. I mean, we went all the
Cool.
way through school together. There could be years that we don't talk, but then we'll reconnect, and it's just like
It
we
never stopped.
never stopped. Yeah.
Mhm.
But and then across the street were the Nelms, two boys and a girl. Down the street we had the Medinas and the I mean, the neighborhood was full of kids, and we would stay out. I mean, we'd leave. I'd tell my mom, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and play,"
Uh-huh.
and I'd leave, and we'd go do whatever. Um, we lived in a neighborhood behind Irving Mall.
Okay.
Yeah, we would walk to the mall, uh, and
Oh,
go play foosball at this uh place in the mall. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a game
like
place.
an
But it had
arcade
air
center?
hockey. Yeah, arcade. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they had air hockey and pinball and uh, foosball and all that kind of
Jeez.
stuff. And then when the street lights would come on,
Mhm.
um, we were supposed to go in, but we'd usually keep outside till one of our parents would come outside and holler our name, and
Oh,
then
wow.
we'd go inside. Yeah, I couldn't even do that with my kids who are now in their late 30s. One
Uh,
actually 40
jeez.
something, but um I couldn't do that with them, and it's so sad. Like
Yeah.
now, when if they want to ride their bike, or I mean, I'm around the block. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, let me know when you get back, or
Yeah.
it's not. Kids aren't able to go out and run the streets, as my mom would say,
No, they're not.
and it's a shame, really, because I think those times when our us kids could just hang together, and
Yep.
that's where we I know that's where I learned a lot of life lessons,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
you know,
Definitely. Yep.
um, not being so constrained,
Mhm.
was able to live being a kid, and I just don't think kids have that ability
No, I don't.
anymore.
I
And
don't.
it's
I mean, unless you're living behind some large, like, gated home, you know what I mean? But even still, like that's you're confining your kids because they don't get to, I guess, they have like the life experiences and making those friendships, like those lifelong friendships. You don't get to really do so much of
yep,
that because of, yeah,
and they are
you're confined.
lifelong
Mhm.
friendships. I mean,
Yep.
Um, I don't get on Facebook very much because it's like getting in a wormhole. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll see a friend that I hadn't talked to in a long time, and they're talking to somebody else that I hadn't talked to in a long time, haven't even thought of in years. But now, now I want to see what they're up to. So it's like,
Right.
eh, it just sucks you in. But
Yeah, it does.
but some of these people that I went to elementary school with, I
Mhm.
have reconnected with on
Oh,
Facebook,
wow.
you know,
Wow.
and
That's exciting.
yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, you get to find out what what was going on with them in the years that you haven't, seen
Right.
one another in between
Yeah.
class reunions.
Yeah. A
But
lot in between.
it's just it's just so different. It's just so different, and
It
it's
is.
you would have liked growing up in the 70s.
Yeah, I totally believe it, and I could just see your mom, like, coming out to, like, she's, like, in the house, like, cooking dinner, and, like, you're still not in, so she's coming out to the porch looking for you, and, like, "Oh,
Linda,
mommy."
Linda. Yep.
Oh, man.
And some had a signal when the porch light would flip on and off. That was their
Yeah.
signal. It was time to come in. But we'd play kickball, we'd play hide and seek. And then, of course, in high school, not when, you're able to drive
Uh-huh.
and uh, like smoke weed
Yeah.
and do naughty thing. I mean, I can remember we drive across the bridge down. We go down 183 and go across the bridge. And there
Uh-huh.
was I think the liquor store is still there. I don't know, but I remember being 16 and buying baby bulls, Schlitz, Schlitz malt liquor, baby bulls. Because those will get you buzzed a lot quicker than just regular beer.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, cause it's malt liquor, right?
Yeah, Schlitz malt liquor, and they had
Okay.
these things that were called baby bowls. They were just little bottles,
Okay.
and I mean, the guys knew we were underage, and they probably shouldn't, but they did. But yeah, most of my high school friends could buy a beer. Guys looked a lot older. Like if you look at my high school um, yearbook,
Yearbook?
all
Uh-huh.
the all the boys look like young men. And I look at
Wow.
like my daughter's yearbooks, all their senior pic, they all look like little boys.
What?
I don't know how to explain it. Just
I
guys,
understand what you're saying.
guys, just I don't know, look more mature. They were bigger. Some could
Yeah.
grow a beard, And I look at the ones today, and it just seems like men are.
Men back then,
They're
yeah.
not, men were men, and
Yeah.
now it doesn't seem so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree.
But we
I can
didn't
totally agree.
have this whole identity crisis of
Oh
it was
goodness,
he and
yeah.
she, and instead of the I don't even know
What they actually are. Jeez.
zir zer,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and
Yeah, it's just
I
too
don't even
much.
know what pansexual. I know
Yeah,
there's just too many.
yeah, it is, and not necessary. It's just really not. So 70s were definitely a time to live and just be free, right? Happy.
Yeah,
Uh,
kind of.
you're like,
And well, um, the weed they're smoking these days. I personally, I don't smoke. I gave that up when I decided I was going to start a family.
yeah.
Um, but I know a lot of adults and people my age do.
Mm,
I I guess my brain chemistry is just different because it's a lot strong. Like I guess
okay.
they've manipulated it, or oh, I'm not a botanist, but I guess made it more stronger.
Okay.
And they say, I mean, if it was back in the 70s and you wanted to legalize it, I could see that being more okay than making it legal now, when what they are growing is 100 times more potent and mind altering
Oh
than
no.
what they used to have. You know what I don't know if I'm
Uh,
saying that right.
yeah, you're explaining it. You're explaining it
Uh,
just right.
because the I just don't see how they could say that it would be safe to drive. Just like I don't think it's safe to drive when you're drinking, but yet alcohol's
Mm-hmm.
legal.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you can't. Um, I don't know. What am I trying to say?
That it shouldn't be legal. I mean, they're altering it so much that you can't say that it's legalized here
It's
in the
safe. I
States.
mean, I just,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, I guess, the majority of people disagree with me there because they do, and maybe they
Right.
can handle it. I can't. I mean,
Yeah.
I take a puff or two and try to drive. That would be. awful.
Yeah, that would be
Mhm.
pretty bad. So don't
That
put
would be
yourself in
pretty
that
scary.
mindset.
That's right.
That would
So,
so that would
but
be super scary.
mm,
Yeah. So Miss Linda, so we're gonna circle back to your adoption and the experience. And the one question that I did have about that was when you said that they wouldn't your mother couldn't adopt because of her health situation. Is that something that we're still currently dealing with, like such stipulations
no,
as
I mean they've
oh,
made so many
revisions?
advancements. Oh,
Okay.
in diabetes and MS too. My boy's mother has multiple sclerosis. Um,
Mhm.
she was diagnosed in 2017, and of course, when they said that, I about nearly broke down because, again, in the 70s, I only knew, and it's weird how it seems like there are a lot of people with MS, but back
Yeah.
then, you didn't hear of people that had MS very much. But I did
Okay.
know one person that had a sibling that had MS. And
Mhm.
back then, you were probably going to end up in a wheelchair, flailing about with, loss of muscle control.
Mhm.
And there wasn't much that could be done for you.
Right.
And nowadays, um, I mean, the advancements just remarkable. My daughter gets an infusion twice a year to deal with the um, the relapses, and
Okay.
you know it helps um, cut back, I guess, on when her body attacks her myelin sheath around her nerves.
Mhm.
But um, anyway, that's I mean that's great. I mean, where I thought she was, you know, going to have a shortened lifespan in a wheelchair, I have since learned that no, you can pretty much live a normal life um,
Yeah.
with some stipulation. You don't want to get too hot and
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Same with diabetes. They have made so many or so much progress with the disease to make it manageable, you know,
Yes.
but it's still uh, my son in law's brother who was, I don't know if he had even reached 30 yet.
Mhm.
Maybe he was in maybe 30, 31. Anyway, he passed away from diabetes because he had an insulin reaction in his sleep, and
Oh
he lived
no.
alone and passed away. But, again, he, being young, liked to drink, and alcohol turns to
Yeah.
sugar. And I mean, you
Yeah.
have to manage it. You still have to manage it and stay on top of it. But,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
the
Wow.
the the drugs that they have to manage it now are just so far superior. So I
Wow.
don't think that you would be denied um, the ability to adopt because you have diabetes. Is what I'm trying to say.
Ri- Okay, I got you. I got you. I'm certainly glad that for the advances now, and I'm glad that the situation that you faced with your mother and then the adoption. I'm glad that that didn't stop her from being able to have you in her life and you in her life, um, or
Yep.
her and you in her life. But I mean, it just seems like such an amazing journey you've gone on, and such a beautiful story to be able to hear. You know, going through it in now.
But I got to tell you, it's God. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
God
you're
has
right.
had His hand on me, and I can't even begin to tell you how
Yeah,
blessed I am, and how blessed so many people are and don't even realize.
Mhm.
um, the gift and the promises of God that they have and don't even know, you
Yeah.
know.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, I mean, we all have the ability to walk, um, and it's, you know, that's a whole journey in and of itself, is your
Mhm.
spiritual relationship with God. And
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on that journey. Uh, I'm just so thankful. I mean, God's love and mercy is what draws me to Him, you know?
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. And I would love for everybody to be able to share that same love for Christ, and be able to be able to have him in their lives, because there just so much that you just go through. And like you say, like you knew that God had his hand on you and somebody was praying for you, and that's him. And what a feeling that is to be able to experience.
Yeah.
Just yeah, it's amazing.
But,
Absolutely amazing.
unfortunately, even people that go to church
Yeah.
on a regular basis, uh, a lot of pastors are
Mm.
um, not maliciously, but they just um, don't know. I guess, well, you're going to get me off on a whole nother tangent uh, about how, I mean, the church was corrupt before Jesus,
Mhm.
you know, I think was even risen. Um,
Mm.
I don't want to go on a, uh, a religious bashing session on different um, faiths, but
Right.
um, you know, a lot of churches just don't teach the right message. Um,
Yeah, you're right.
they try. I mean, just like the whole works thing, you gotta do this,
Mhm.
and you gotta pay your tithe, and you
Yep.
gotta all that, and it's all works oriented, and that has nothing whatsoever to do with your relationship with Christ
You're
at all.
100% right. Yes,
I
ma'am.
I mean, he put an end to.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yep.
none of us, doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter if we're in church every time the doors are open and
Mhm.
we're doing, you know, everything that the pastor's telling us that we should, and tithing and all that. That
Mhm.
doesn't matter. That I mean, God is still sees you the same way as he sees the alcoholic out on the street if they're
Yes,
saved,
ma'am. Yep.
because
Right.
all of our sins have been, past, present, and future, are
Mhm.
covered under the blood.
Yes,
Otherwise,
ma'am.
uh, it would have made no sense for Jesus to give his life, you know?
Ooh, yeah, you said it. You said it right there.
So
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad I'm forgiven. And,
Me
you know,
too.
anyway, like I said, I could really get on a tangent about my relation, but, it's a personal relationship.
It is.
It's a personal revelation. And, Jesus speaks to me. It could be from a billboard. It could
Mhm.
be, from something I hear on the radio. A lot of
Mhm.
people think that if you're not reading your Bible daily, that um, somehow that's going to affect how God sees you. And that's so not true.
No.
He loves
No.
me just the same, but it does help me, you know, it
Have a
does.
stronger relationship.
Hmm.
Mhm. It does. You're absolutely right.
And I
You're
can
absolutely right.
honestly say that's what I would wish for everybody on the face of the planet
Yeah, me too.
would be to have that relationship with the
Yeah,
creator of the universe, you know,
right.
and the people that are like evolution and I, personally, I think science and uh, faith complement one another. When
Mm.
Jesus, or when it says God created the earth in six, I don't think a day was 24 hours.
Oh,
You know what
I
I mean?
know. Oh my goodness. Oh my
Because
goodness.
uh, the Bible also says with God, a day is like 1,000 years. I
Yep.
mean, there
You.
is no time in His um, presence.
Uh huh.
And so, no, I don't believe God created the earth and everything in a 6 24 hour, segments.
Yeah.
So, if they say
Oh.
the earth is 14 billion years old, I don't have a problem with that.
Mhm.
Even though I think according to theologians, it's something like 7,000, or I think they can go back to human history anyway, like 7,000 years or something.
Okay.
But um, anyway, I I believe the Bible. I don't believe it like literally on
Okay.
some things, you know. And I just use the example because, like I said, it for God, a day isn't a 24-hour period necessarily.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yep. I know somebody who would definitely agree with what you're saying on that. For for
and
sure.
and in Revelations, some of the um oh the pictures that John is talking about.
Okay.
um I don't know, like how would somebody from 3,000 years ago describe, some of these modern things that I mean, could you imagine just seeing a car or an airplane,
No, not back
or
then.
helicopter, or how I just it would be strange. How would they describe it?
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah,
I
that'd
know
be
I'm
too.
getting off on another tangent. I'm full of
Oh no,
I'm
you're all
full of
right.
little tangents.
You're all right. There's plenty of other podcast episodes if you want to come back and talk about that. I don't mind. I don't mind. But I do I want to ask you really quick, like there's just two more questions that I want to find out. So after having been adopted and being in such an amazing relationship with your parents, and now your kids, I imagine, know that you were adopted at some point.
Oh yeah, they know.
Okay. So how do you think that that affected them at all? Like, do you see like them having any questions about like your upbringing or like your family history?
Um, well, my firstborn is uh we have four daughters, his, mine, and ours.
Okay.
And um we had custody of his two daughters when
Okay.
they were um very young. So um my my oldest daughter is the only one really that I guess has an interest in that kind of stuff. She
Oh.
talks she talks to my birth mother, and my birth
Oh.
mother calls her. I mean we have an ongoing relationship now. And I'm
Oh.
gonna mhm. And yep. I have a picture of my birth mother that she sent me. I mean, she sent me several pictures, but you know,
Okay.
it's it's I can't explain the feeling of looking at a picture and knowing that I'm part of that person. Like I
Mhm.
can see resemblances. And it's so funny. My favorite group, um, like music has always been a big part of my life.
Okay,
That's
good.
another thing in the 70s, man. We had great music.
Oh, I know it.
And I mean real music where people played instruments and not
Yeah.
computers
Yeah.
and sang with their own voice. And
Yeah.
um, anyway, my mother's favorite group is the same as mine, and that's the Eagles.
Oh,
Yeah, we
wow.
have the same taste in music. She, I guess if you had to put a category on it, it'd be rock and roll,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
classic rock.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, she,
Man.
I think she listens to a lot of contemporary Christian music. But
Okay.
no, the Eagles. When she told me that, I couldn't believe it, and not
Jeez.
just the Eagles. Find out, yeah, like
Man.
your taste in music. Who would have thought your taste in music could be genetic?
Yeah, but I believe I believe that it really can be. I really do believe that.
Hmm. Oh, and that was
Yeah.
another thing I was gonna say as far as my desire to find my uh, birth parent. My father, um, the the boy that she was had um,
Been involved
they
with?
were together, the her boyfriend at the time, my birth
Mhm.
dad, he passed away when he was 40 in 1982.
Oh,
Yeah. He was a captain in the army, and he served in Vietnam. So I could only assume
what the
if he didn't commit suicide from PTSD and serving in Vietnam, that he might have died from cancer or some other illness from the
the
agent.
napalm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Agent Orange, napalm, all all that stuff.
Jeez.
Because to pass away at 40, that's in 82, and the
Yeah,
Vietnam War wasn't over with until early 70s. So
that's young though.
I know.
Gee whiz.
That's what I'm saying. If it wasn't suicide, it was probably uh, some terminal illness from
Yeah.
serving in Vietnam. But um,
Wow.
anyway, um, what was I saying?
But you were talking about genetics, like things being
Oh, yeah.
passed down and
So, whenever I did the 23andMe, and when I really started getting serious on trying to find um, her,
uh-huh.
it was because my whole life, anytime I've gone to the doctor and on those forms, it asks for, do you have a family history of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all
Mm,
this stuff. And I just have to put, you know, not known, you know,
yeah.
because I
Yeah.
really, but the older you get, the more you think about what is it that's going to take me out of this life.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so uh, I wanted to find out what kind of genetic history I had, if there, and anyway, after talking with her and everything, I really don't have any medical, like the cancer doesn't run in the family. I
Ooh,
guess
that's nice.
if anything,
Yeah.
heart disease,
Okay.
like clogged arteries and stuff like that.
Okay.
uh, which I guess everybody
Yeah.
to some degree.
Yeah.
But like, I already
That's funny.
have arthritis. She has arthritis. She has problems with the same areas that I do.
Okay.
It's just neat to be able to talk about, you know, similarities that,
Yeah.
you know, are genetic. But anyway, like I said, uh, I've been blessed.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. And then to be able to have the opportunity now to be able to talk with your mom whenever you need to.
Hmm.
Do you call her your mom? Like how do you address her?
Um,
Or by her name, I guess.
yes, I don't, I
Okay.
don't, I don't call her mom.
Okay.
Because to me, mom is a title. Um, there's more to being a mom than giving birth,
Oh yeah.
a
Yeah.
whole lot. And so to
Yes, ma'am.
me, um, the title mom is a term of reverence. And I say that for my mom, the one
Okay.
who raised me. Um,
Yes.
I guess I call her by her name,
Okay. I just there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's
you
nothing
know.
wrong with that.
But we do tell each other that we love each other
Oh, that's so
every
cute. That's
every
awesome.
time we talk, because I do love her, and
Yeah.
I again am so thankful for the choice she made to give me up for adoption.
Yes, ma'am.
And anybody listening that has that same situation, I just hope that you would really think and consider that as a viable alternative to abortion.
Yes.
But
Yep. I agree. I agree with you on that
I hate to
for
say
sure.
that, some people do use it as a form of birth control.
Yeah, I do, and it's sad. I mean,
When
it's
someone's had 5 abortions, you haven't figured out yet what causes it, what causes pregnancy, you know? I mean, it's
oh,
preventable and there's
yeah.
no excuse. There's just,
No,
I know, look, I'm not saying I was a virgin till I was married because I wasn't.
right.
Um, again, God has protected me, but I didn't have a lot of partners or anything.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, um, I was uh, too young the first time I did that, and yeah, it could have. I can honestly say I don't know that I could have done that. I mean, I don't know that
Oh,
I could have had a child and given it away.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
I don't
tough.
know what I would have done, and I'm thankful that I never had to face that situation. And I'm not judging anybody at all if that's
Mhm.
the decision that you have to make. I just hope you make it early.
Mhm.
I do take issue with people in the, 4th and 5th month that
Yeah.
decide to do that. That is, in my opinion, so wrong, uh,
Yes. It's a
because
life.
it is a life. There's no
Yes,
doubt
ma'am.
about it. Um,
Yeah.
it's a life well before your 4th and 5th month.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you have people now that actually, you know, give birth at 5 months, and
Yeah.
baby's in the hospital for several months, but they live and go on to have a good normal life.
Mhm. Yeah, they do. I
So
do.
there's no reason that you would need to wait that long. And actually, now that I think about it, I had a coworker. This was back before I had children. I was married. I was in my early 20s, and I had a coworker, and I can honestly, she did not know she was pregnant because she still had her menstrual cycle. But
Oh,
come to find out, she found out when she was 4 or 5 months. And
oh,
rather than have an abortion, she did carry it to term and gave the baby up for adoption.
okay.
Um, Gosh, I wonder how she's doing. I know I saw her at Tony Evans' church, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship.
Uh-huh.
Um, Probably in 2000, I ran into her there,
Okay.
and she was doing great and everything. But anyway,
Wow. Well, at least she made the right decision. That's good.
yeah.
Good for her, and not having known. Okay, Miss Linda. So before we wrap up, there's one last question that I like to ask,
Mhm.
and that is, in your experience throughout your life's experience, is there anything that you would like to change about it, or would you change?
I, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Um, Man, I would have been kinder to my mom as a teenager, and um, that's really hard to say. I mean,
Okay.
I would have focused more on my education than on um, the stupid stuff kids. I'm matured at a really early age. I mean, I had boobs. I mean, I started getting boobs in the 3rd grade, and by the time I was in the 6th grade, I mean, you know,
Wow.
let's see, I started menstruating when I was 12.
Okay.
Uh, but I mean, always looked older than I was, and I always felt older than I was. And I think most kids do. And I wish they wouldn't. I
Mhm.
don't know. Did you?
I did. I did. I'm a pretty old soul.
Well,
But
I mean,
yes.
I can remember, being 13 and thinking, I could take care of myself. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I drove a car when I was 12, 13.
Wow. So you were really trying to be independent.
Well, um, I mean, my grandparents had a farm in McKinney, and so they would let. I can remember being 10 and driving their pickup truck out in the pasture.
Oh, nice.
Um, but yeah, I just always remember thinking, uh, and being older than my age, or
Mhm.
thinking that, I don't know how to put it in words. And I wish I would have just been content to be a kid instead of
Mm.
always wanting to be older,
Mhm.
because kids think grown-ups can do whatever they want, and that's
Yeah.
that is so that is so wrong.
It is. It's wrong. And to what you're saying, I remember my dad when we were growing up, he would always say, be happy to be a child because once you're grown, you're gonna wish you were a kid again. And I was like,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Like I'm 6, 7 years old. But yeah, I get it. I get it.
I mean, um, that would be something that I would want. I would en I would take the time to enjoy being
Hmm.
a kid and not wanting to experience life as an adult.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
I I understand it.
and I think, and I, I would have wanted to, I should have focused more on my education and taken it
Mm,
more seriously than I did.
mhm.
Uh,
Yep.
because that's one thing nobody can take away from you.
Yes, ma'am.
They can take everything, they can strip you of your pride, and but they
Yep.
can't take away your education.
They cannot ever,
So
ever, ever.
anyway, that that's it.
That's your story. Well, Miss Linda, I want to thank you for coming on. I really really appreciate you being able to be so open about your life, and I want you to know personally that I think that you are an absolutely beautiful woman, and you are
Oh,
worth you really are. You really truly
well,
are,
thank you.
and yes, inside and out,
Oh,
and and I want you to know that
you
you're
haven't
worth.
seen me as many times as your sister.
I
Your sister has seen me at my worst.
and
Oh,
you know what? That's okay. That is all right. That's all right. But yeah,
but
it's
thank you
been
very
really
much.
fun.
It's very
Oh, you're
sweet.
welcome. You're very welcome. And it's just the truth, you know. And I love your story, and you're definitely worth a whole lot. And so you have to remember that. And life's gonna be life, and I don't need to tell you that, right? Because you've already experienced a good majority of it. But just keep hanging in there. Keep God at the focus of your life, like I hear that you're doing.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, and it's gonna be good. You know, ups and downs for sure, but you know we're built for it
that's
for
right.
sure. So
I mean, if God's for us, who could be against us?
that's 100% true. That is
That's
absolutely
right.
true. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you, and
You're welcome.
uh, I can't wait to tune in to more of
Oh
your
yeah.
podcast. You know,
Oh yeah. Thank you.
I've never listened to a podcast,
Okay. Well, now you get to start.
but I am going to
Yeah.
start listening to your podcast, not just because you have me on here,
Yes, ma'am.
but because
Yeah.
it sounds um, like people's stories could really reach um, people on a level that they need.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
thank you for that.
You're very welcome, and that's what I'm hoping for. So, hey guys, this has been the Blind Impact. Today's guest has been the one and only Miss Linda. Miss Linda. And if you guys like the show, please feel free to write in at theblindimpact@gmail.com to tell us about yours. And Miss Linda, I will be talking to you soon. And again, thank
Okay.
you so much.
Well, thank
Okay.
you, Fran. Bye bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of The Blind Impact. If you like the show, please rate, subscribe, review, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you have a story you'd like to tell, please email me at theblindimpact@gmail.com. Or if you have a story you'd like to have read here by me, please include those details in the email or the voice message. Thank y'all, and remember, it's not always tragic.